there, this is Vahid from VRF Education channel, and today I'm going to talk about one of the most challenging area in Python programming, create GUI for our application. Although Python provides a couple of framework and utility to help us creating GUI for our application, such as TKinter, it's really hard to deal with that library and create some powerful or some flexible GUI for our application. Alongside with that, there are a couple of frameworks out there such as PyQt, PySide, Kiwi, etc. They help developers a lot to create GUIs, but they also have a couple of issues. So I'm gonna talk about issues, those issues that are not specific to this kind of frameworks or the creating GUI in Python. It's general. So at last, I'm gonna come up with an idea to handle creating a GUI for Python application automatically and bind the objects to that GUI dialog or form automatically and try to load data from the object to the form and save the data back to object automatically. So we all know that Python is a powerful programming language. It's multi-purpose and we can use it for different needs. And it supports creating GUI application via a library named TKinter. It's very hard to create application or to create GUI application with that library, and you need to create a whole application GUI via coding. And it's a little hard for developers, especially for those who want to work in the front end layer of a project. This is really hard or a nightmare for developers to use TKinter to create GUI applications. For solving this problem, a couple of frameworks such as PyQt, PySide, and etc. are emerged, and they help developers to create GUI much easier than TKinter. And we can use QtDesigner, a very powerful designer that created for Qt framework, and we can use them to create a GUI in a graphical environment. With these frameworks, we can create GUI using that designer or even in code. But it's much more easier than TKinter to create a GUI with these tools and frameworks. And by a layout system, a rich layout system, we can create much more flexible and interactive GUI in contrast with TKinter. So they are very modern, and we can and an end user can work with this GUI very easily. But this approach also have another issues. What is the main issues? It's a time-consuming task to create GUI for objects inside Python programs. By objects, I mean that in real programs, we always deal with objects. We are not going to work with simple structures. So we need to create some objects for to handle or to meet our requirements in Python programming. And if you're not familiar with object-oriented in Python, I suggest to learn it. It's very vital to create some real application and robust application also. I have a course for this topic. You can watch it on my channel. And in an object-oriented application, everything are around objects. Objects are the entities of our application, and then we want to create GUI for those objects. So it's a little bit hard to create them all by hand, even in designers, and then try to name them, load data from object to the widgets on the form, and then save data back to the object that we created GUI for. These are tedious tasks, and sometimes really is a nightmare for developers. So I think a lot about these problems and these issues, and I come up with the idea to create a library to handle creating a standard GUI for our application or our objects inside an application, and load and save data automatically into widgets on that form, and then save them back to the object. And it also deals with complex objects. For example, imagine that you have an object inside another object. It can easily deal with that without any need to write code. I have created a draft for this library, and I'm gonna show you a demo to create a couple of GUI for an object, an imaginary object. It's not maybe a real object, but it's but I'm going to use it to show you how this library works and create different object types or different widget types, and how it's work with the object in Python. Without need to write any code, you can just create your own business objects and pass it to this library. This library will create a very simple GUI based on the object fields. For example, it can handle string fields, integer, float fields, Boolean fields, lists, dictionaries, and also complex objects for you with a nice look and feel, and also flexible GUI form. Okay. Let's go to VS Code and try the capabilities of this library, and I will push it to a repository on GitHub, and the address to that repository will be added to the comment section of this video. Let me know about about your feedback of using this library, and see if it's useful for you or not, and the challenges that maybe this library faced in future, and also the capabilities that you need to add to this library. Okay, let's go to VS Code. Okay, let's see what we meant by a GUI generator in practice. As I mentioned, this library or utility gonna help us with creating a GUI for our business objects. Our business objects contains a couple of fields or property, and this library right now supports only fields. And in future, I'm gonna add support for property, and also more flexibility with that property we can have in our library. Right now, I'm gonna check the field type, and based on those types, I'm gonna add some related widgets on the form. For example, for text field, I'm gonna add QLineEdit. For integer field, I'm gonna add QSpin box, and for float values, this will be Q double spin box, and for Boolean values, it will be a Q checkbox, and some related predefined widgets in Qt for those objects based on the types. And also for some complex types such as lists and dictionaries, I'm gonna add QList widget and QTable widget. And in this library at this time, I support complex object. It means that if you have another object inside your class, you can support it with this library and open another form to manipulate that object data, and this will be done recursively. So let's see what I meant. First of all, I'm going to create a person class. Let's define it. Class person. And right now, in constructor, I'm gonna receive a couple of information like person name, person age, and person height. These are imaginary. And it might be nonsense to you. So self.name equal to name, self.age equal to age, and self.height equal to height. So I'm going to provide these values when I create an instance from this specific class. And let's re-implement or rewrite the done.str method to see the outputs on the console. And I'm going to just print content for name, age, and height. Self.height, self.age, self.name. So this is a tedious task to create GUI for all objects inside our application. And although some framework or libraries such as PyQt and PySide are created to help us using a very powerful utility such as QtDesigner to create them in designing mode, not just in coding, it's a little bit tedious task to create. So this helper class gonna help us a lot. Let's see what I mean. First of all, I'm gonna create an instance from person class. My name is Vahid. Terminal opened. I'm 35 years old, and my height is 6'1" or 1 inch. Now let's print it on the output. print P, and because we rewrite the done str, you can see the result, something like this. The goal of this utility is to help us view current state or current value of our object, and also be able to manipulate them and change their values. This is also done without need to write any code. You can see the value in some widgets, good look and feel, and also if you change them inside that GUI, the change when you press OK button will be applied to that specific object. So first of all, I need to run an event loop for Qt application. For this purpose, I'm gonna add Qt application to this file from PyQt, and also I use PyQt as the basics of this library, and in future I'm gonna add support for PySide, and if you're a PySide developer, you can use this library too. PyQt, from PyQt Qt widgets, I'm gonna import Qt application, and also I am gonna import system module, and let's see our project structure. There are a couple of files here, some template files and some class files, some Python files. It will need a little bit refactoring, and after refactored, I'm going to push it to GitHub, and the repository link will be added to video description. You can download it and use it, and let me know the issues that you are that you're faced, or the things that you think it's better to add it to this library. So this library will be at your disposal very soon. Now I'm going to create application variable from Qt application and pass the argument, command line argument using system.sys.argv, and after that I'm going to call app.exec. This will create an event loop so we can interact with those dialogs that I'm going to create. So the main entry point of this library right now is GUI Generator. I'm going to add this to my file from Qt Generator. I'm going to import GUI Generator. Okay, and I'm going to create a dialog variable. GUI Generator has a method called createGUI, and you should pass object, the business object that you want to create a GUI for that. In this example, it's P. I'm going to pass P to this create object, and a class will be returned, a class that inherits from QWidget.QDialog. It's a dialog, and if I show it or execute, you can see the output. So if I run the application, you can see a dialog created with all those fields that are in capitalized mode, and the values that I pass to that object is shown here, and also the title is has the same name with the class, and there's two buttons here, OK and cancel. It layouts inside form layout, and in future I'm going to add the support for QGrid layout also. That brings us more flexibility in creating better GUI. So here I'm going to change it, for example, to Sarah 833 and height 5.8. And if I press OK, you can see I print the P object that I passed to this method of GUI Generator, and the change also applied to this object. So you can easily view the current state of your object and change its value without need to write any code. So let's see the other capabilities of this library. I'm going to add a Boolean field. For example, self.is_male. Is this person male? Right now it's true. I'm not going to pass field values right now. And if I run it, you can see another field added to GUI. So is male, yeah. And if I just unchecked it and change the name to Sarah, oh, I forgot to print it here. Self.is_male. Let's run it one more time. I changed it to Sarah and unchecked is male. Sarah is a female. And you can see it's false, and this is and this change. These two are unchanged because I didn't change them. So you can use checkbox for Boolean values, and in future when I add the support to property, you can change it in a way that use combo box or a Q radio button to show on your GUI. Right now this is only work with checkbox. Boolean value works with checkbox. Another thing that I added to this library right now is support for date and time. Let's add import from date time module. I'm going to import date time, date and time. So let's create a property named, for example, register underline date. It equals to date.today. And let's create a variable, local variable called now. It's equal to date time. That's now. Now I'm gonna add a variable named last login. It's equal to now. Now is combination of date and time for the current moment. And I'm gonna add another field, for example, self dot. For example, self dot break underline time equal to now dot time. For these three different objects, I'm going to add three different widgets on form. First one is a date widget, the second one is a date time widget, and third one is just a time widget. And I can change it. For example, today is 5th of March, so I can change it to January 1st. And I think I forgot to support the change in date time. Let's check it. I'm going to change it also. And also I want to omit the minute part. And if I forgot to add it, okay, I'm going to add this to a new line. Self.register date, self.last login, and self.break time. Let's run it one more time and change it to January 1st. This one also I'm going to change it, for example, to 12:12, and this one to 10 a.m. If I press OK, you can see this is the January 1st. The third one, yeah, the second one, as I mentioned, it's not working. I should check it. And for the third one, it's 10 a.m. And because we didn't see the seconds on that specific widget, it remained unchanged. Okay, it's 35 seconds in the morning, 10 a.m. in morning. So this is also support for date and time. You can change them easily based on your need. Another important thing is support for list. Imagine that this person is a student and he took some courses at university. So these courses are DB, database, data structure, and also Python. For list, I'm going to add a QList widget on form with three different capabilities. First of all, you can edit the values and you can remove values from that list, or you can add value to that specific list and see the changes in your object. So I'm going to add these to output also, self.courses. Here you don't need to struggle with adding or removing or editing things in a QList widget. So let's see what we have. This is a combination of widgets. First of all, we have a QList widget. By double click, you can change it, for example, to database. Its complete name. You can select it and press minus button here to remove this item from the list. And also you can enter some new courses. This is a placeholder here. And you can, for example, set Java, press add, and also C#. These are courses that this person took at university. And if I press OK, you can see the list updated. Database will remove the DS and Python, Java, and C#. New things are added to this list. Okay. The next functionality is related to dictionaries. For dictionaries, I use QTable widgets, and you can also add, edit, or remove items in that widget. It's something like QList widget, but because we have key and value, I'm gonna use QTable widget for that purpose. So let's say self.work hours. I'm gonna save working hours of this person in different months. For example, in January, Jan, it works for, or she works for 120 hours. February, 200 hours, and for March, it's for example 160 hours. So let's see what we have here. If I run the application, you can see there's a list here with two different columns, key and value. The rows are in alternative low color, so you can distinguish different rows easily. And also we have a couple of items here. First of all, I can change the item here, 1, 2, 3. And you can also remove the current selected rows. If I press the minus button here, it's gonna remove from the dictionary. And also I can add new items. Key is, for example, for September, I worked 250 hours. And if you press add, oh, I forgot to clear them. I will do it. And for example, for November, it's 100 hours. Oh, I forgot to add it also to the outputs. Self.work hours. Let's run it one more time and do it quickly. I'm gonna change them and I'm gonna remove it. For September, it's 250. For November, it's 100, and that's it. Let's press OK. So you can see January 1, March 3. These are updated, and these are new ones. September 250, November 100, and these are new values added to that specific object directly. And one drawback here is that the value is always in a string. So I can do some work here to preserve their previous value, but it's a little bit hard, and I will add it to the library in future versions. Maybe I should take it into consideration to see if it's possible or not. But right now you can update it using some string values. One last thing that right now I support is complex object. What does it mean? I created another class inside this project. It says address. This is this gonna hold city, street, building number, and also postcode for a specific address. And I'm going to create an address object inside this application. Self.address equal to address. Oh, I forgot to add it from new module. Address import address. Now I'm gonna create an address, and also I add some predefined values in the constructor of this class, so I'm gonna use them. So if I run the application, let's see what we have. For these objects inside another object, I'm going to add a label here and use the string or str method to output something here. And there's a browse button or detail button shown in front of it. This button, if you click on that, another GUI created for that specific object that contains all the things that also is inside that specific class, and you can change them. So I forgot to add address in the output. Let's add it. Let's go to the end and add self.address to the $str method and run the application one more time. So here I'm gonna change the address. If I open it, and I'm gonna change it to Tehran street 2. It's 20, and this is 555-666. And if I just press OK, you can see everything just applied to this output. And if I press OK here also, this changed Tehran Street 2, 20, and 555-666. This is the support for complex objects. And if let's add some another field to this one. For example, I'm gonna add self.phone equals to a list. For example, I'm gonna add 111, 222, and also 333. And again, add this one to the output, self.phone. Let's see what we have here. Everything dynamically updated. So this is our phone. I'm gonna press it. You can see again a list is added to this dialog. I'm going to change them to 1-digit phone number, and also let's remove 2 and also add 4 here. And if I press OK, you can see everything just updated. And if I press OK, everything also updated inside our main object. So this is the main functionality of this library right now, and I'm gonna add them. I'm gonna change it. Add some other options to this, specifically support for properties. With properties and annotation mechanism, we can extend our GUI. What does it mean? For example, if you want to change this spin box to some slider, with properties we can do it easily. So we can say, hey, instead of adding QSpin box for me, I want a widget of type QSlider. Or for some other things, you can add progress bar, LCD, QDial, and other type of widget that Qt support them. And I'm going to add this functionality to the next version of this library. And also, I'm looking for your comments. Let me know what you think about this library and if it's worth it to develop it or not. I think it's going to help a lot of developers to get rid of GUI creation things, and also getting a better chance to manipulate or see the objects on some graphical interface instead of watching them inside console or text areas. I would be glad to read your comments read your opinion in comment section, and try to develop this library for you. Thank you. Till next session. Goodbye.